Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show on television. Here on The Point of View, we pick the right topics, get the right guests, and ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you. Tonight's show is an interesting show because it's evolving situation that we have been met with. Earlier in the day, Organized Labour called off their planned strike action. The strike was scheduled for tomorrow, the 10th of October, but in the late hours of the afternoon, they read a statement to the media saying that following meetings with the government and following assurances from the president, they had decided to call off their planned strike, which was scheduled for Thursday. Tonight, to bring you the inside story on the build-up to this, what led to the calling off of the strike, and where this leaves the clamor for the government to stop Galamsey now. Stay with us. So welcome. Tonight's show is a special show to bring you the inside story of the latest in this fight against illegal, irresponsible mining. Hashtag Stop Galamsey Now. The media has been at the forefront of this. Indeed, this fight started many years ago. As a media house, we started this fight in 2016. And indeed, I've put out some of the videos of our first campaign, printing T-shirts, sharing leaflets, organizing programs, then the whole history of the media coalition against illegal mining forming out of that, and now the renewed fight following some of the devastation we've seen. Indeed, we've reached a crisis point in relation to every metric. Water levels in terms of their turbidity levels have gone up. We have very challenging situations with land. There's destruction of farmlands, forest reserves, riverbeds, all of that happening, leading to over 60 organizations asking the government to take decisive action. Indeed, the summary of the key demands are four. Number one, that the government declares a state of emergency in areas affected by this Galamsey, river bodies in particular, and forest reserves. Number two, a moratorium on mining of all forms in these areas to allow for a new strategy. Of course, there's also been a call for the revocation of the LI 2462, which allows mining in forest reserves. And then there's also a demand for a roadmap to deal with Galamsey. Now, we also need to point out that these demands have received various forms of responses. So there have been 3 press releases from government. The first one was on the 4th of October, where Information Minister Fatimata Abubakar acknowledged the meeting that Organized Labour held with the president. So I'm just reading that for you. The President of the Republic, H.E. Akufo-Addo, Nana Addo Dankwa, held a meeting with Organized Labour yesterday, 3rd October, at the Jubilee House to discuss issues pertaining to illegal small-scale mining. Government would like to thank Organized Labour for attending upon the President's invitation. Government is committed to engaging all stakeholders in pursuit of sustainable mining and environmental protection. So this was the first statement signed by Fatimatu Abubakar. Then she subsequently sent another statement dated 7th of October. This statement was longer than the one I just read. That statement had 4 major paragraphs, and I'll read that just to give the background to how we got here. This is a response, outcome of President's meeting with Organized Labour. Following the call by Organized Labour and other stakeholders on government to take action on the menace of illegal small-scale mining in the country, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, convened a meeting with Organized Labour on Thursday, 3rd October 2024 at the Jubilee House. 2. The meeting discussed the long-standing issue of illegal mining, reviewed the situation and government's efforts thus far. It was agreed between the parties that A, government will collaborate with Organized Labour and other stakeholders in the fight against illegal mining. B, government will take steps when Parliament reconvenes this month to revoke the Environmental Protection into bracket Mining and Forest Reserves Regulation 2023 LI 2462. C, government will ramp up its enforcement measures, particularly as it relates to prohibiting illegal mining in water bodies and forest reserves. And D, water bodies and forest reserves remain red zones for mining, and all forms of mining in water bodies, as well as reconnaissance, prospecting, exploration, and or small-scale mining in forest reserves remain banned. Law enforcement agencies of the state are fully mandated to raid our water bodies and forest reserves of all forms of mining. E, the Attorney General will collaborate with Chief Justice to ensure swift adjudication of illegal mining cases. F, government supports the call for presidential candidates to sign a pact committing to fighting against illegal mining so as to depoliticize the national problem. So this is all under point 2. 3, in light of the above, government is surprised by the decision of Organised Labour to proceed with an industrial action from 10th October 2024. Government will, however, continue to engage with Organised Labour and other stakeholders in a constructive dialogue in finding solutions to this national menace. 4, government reiterates its commitment to fight against all illegal small-scale mining and calls on all stakeholders to join the fight. So this is the second statement released by Information Ministry, signed by the Minister. Then, today, 9th October, this press release came in much earlier in the day before the meeting by Organised Labour. Government, in its continued effort to clamp down on the long-standing menace of illegal small-scale mining, has concluded operational measures to intensify the ongoing Operation Halt, which is led by the Ghana Armed Forces to rid our river bodies of all forms of mining activities. This phase of the operation will be done in conjunction with the Small-Scale Miners Association of Ghana. Government reassessed that river bodies and forest reserves remain red zones. Government reiterates its commitment to fight against illegal small-scale mining and calls on all stakeholders to join the fight. So these are the 3 statements released by government in a build-up to a meeting held by Organised Labour this afternoon to deliberate on their next line of action. Let me now take you to Organised Labour's leadership. Now, Organised Labour was represented by 3 main wings. So there's the Trade Union Congress, which has about 23 unions under it. There's the Forum, which is CLOCSAG and some of the government-affiliated workers. And then there's the Ghana Federation of Labour. So there was a press conference addressed by Joshua Ansah and Isaac Bampo Addo. Of course, what we, the media, were called into was the aftermath of their deliberations. So let me tell you or show you what we were told as media before we backtrack and get the behind-the-scenes story so that you get the chronology of this. So the meeting today was to decide on what to do tomorrow, because the plan was to do the strike tomorrow. And in fact, on radio this morning, we interviewed some leaders of Labour who said the strike was going to go on as planned. I interviewed Bernard J. of the Ghana Public Sector Workers Union, who was very clear that they would strike. The UTAG, which have many branches across the country on many university campuses, had also been voting. And with almost all the results of the vote showing that they were voting yes for strike. So a lot of people were expecting that by close of this meeting this afternoon, Organised Labour would just formally announce that even though government had taken some actions, they didn't think that those actions addressed the 4 key issues well enough. Don't forget the 4 key issues: moratorium on mining, state of emergency, revoke the LI, and a roadmap. So far, it was the LI that had been revoked and some sort of roadmap promised. But the state of emergency had not been touched upon by the government. The moratorium had not been touched upon. So when the media was called in, this is what Mr. Ansah and Mr. Bampo Addo said to us at the meeting, or to the media at the meeting.
Collaboration with the Organised Labour and other stakeholders to fight illegal mining, government has asked Organised Labour to nominate representatives to be part of the stakeholders committee to fight illegal mining in the country. 5, government supports the call by Organised Labour for all presidential candidates to sign a pact committing to the fight against illegal mining. 6, government affirmed its commitment to engage with stakeholders, including Organised Labour and the Ghana Employers Association, to bring an end to illegal mining in Ghana. These are significant concessions that Organised Labour demands and threats have forced government to make towards combating illegal mining, that's Galamsey, in Ghana. Comrades, Organised Labour has therefore decided to suspend the intended strike action. We are calling all workers to report for work on 10th of October 2024 and beyond. Organised Labour will keenly monitor the implementation of these measures which government has made, and government will hear from us if it fails to do the needful.
So that was the Secretary General of the TUC. I just wanted to point out who is in the picture, because it helps us to understand what's going on here. So Secretary General is Joshua Ansah reading the statement. That's the Secretary General of the TUC. The man to his right is Mr. Isaac Bampo Addo, who is the chairman of the Forum. And then the man to Isaac Bampo Ado's right is Kenneth Kumsin, who's the Deputy Secretary General of the Ghana Federation of Labour. And I'm sure the body language speaks for itself. Now, behind them is Bernard Owusu, who's the chairman of the TUC, and then Edward Nyaku Otu, who is the deputy. Of course, he was formerly the head of policy, an economist. So this is Organised Labour. This is TUC leadership reading a statement. Clocksack. And by the way, these are the two men who are accused of reading a prepared statement that the rest of the team did not know about. And of course, you hear from the UTAG shortly. But let's talk to the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey. Can Edem Ashigbe, engineer, is on the line to talk to us about their reaction to what's happened so far and where this leaves the collective fight against Galamsey, and also the Red Day protest that was announced earlier today in solidarity with Organised Labour for the fight. So, Engineer Ashigbe, thanks for joining us. Good evening.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, Bernard.
Wow, what a day it's been. In the morning, we spoke about the red band, and we're wearing our red bands tomorrow, waiting on Organised Labour to have a meeting today. And indeed, before I even interviewed you in the morning, I spoke to some leaders of Labour who said they were ready for the strike. We had observed UTAG members also voting to affirm the strike. So it seems a bit of a surprise what happened this afternoon. I'm sure it's a bit of a surprise, isn't it?
Well, Bernard, you know, as you said yourself, we've been fighting this thing since 2016, even before this government came into power. And so, well, you can forgive Organised Labour. They just joined recently. But you see, when you hear the statement that UTAG put out, it clearly tells you the mood of what it is. But it is what it is. Our focus is, it was not as if Organised Labour was the beat, make it all for us. The intention for the media coalition and by extension the Ghana coalition, stopping Galamsey. So whatever tools that we're going to use to be able to do that, we will continue to do. And what has really brought us where we are, it's not Organised Labour, is the fact that the City Morning Breakfast Show wakes up every morning and takes this issue. It's the fact that you find the Joy FM morning show, all the media have been putting it. So Organised Labour now says they are part of government's, effort to go and fight it. So what we will do is to say to everybody that tomorrow's Red Friday is more urgent than any time, in our lives. Now we need to bring the pressure to bear on the things that government said is going to do. Revocation of LI 2462. We know that, from the EPA to the Ministry of Environment, work is going on with the Attorney General for that memo. But Bernard, again, this is where, Organised Labour should have been listening to us a lot more. It is not enough for you to just revoke the LI. So now our petition would be to government, to the president, to revoke all licenses that have been permitted in the forest reserves, so that you don't want a situation where these people will come and say that when they got their license, the LI was still in force. And then we are calling on the EPA to say that they should not sign any of these permits. We know that a lot of the permits have not been permitted by the EPA yet. And government, through an EI, should revoke it. And then as media, the team from CTFM, all the media, we now should be looking out to see where is it that government has deployed these forces. How many charm funds are still on the water bodies? We should be asking Ghana Water to be publishing the turbidity of water on a consistent basis and be able to verify it. We need to ensure that the issues about the court and the cases that are in court, again, better look into the statement issued by Organised Labour. They talk about 14 courts, 17 circuits, 7 circuits, 7 high courts. Look at government statement that it talks about 4. So you see the discrepancies even in what it is that they put up. So we need to, then our job currently is the fact that we need to bring pressure to bear on all the people to ensure that what has been said, the end goal of ending Galamsey, we are doing it and we're monitoring it. So that is what we should be doing. And I would urge the media at this point, let's not lose our focus from what the fight is. let us not allow those who came to join us recently to take our focus off the fight. Let's keep our focus on the fight. Let them deal with their issues as labor.
Now, Ken, that's interesting because, you know, we've counted over almost 60 different statements urging the government to do essentially the same thing. And as you rightly said, organized labor came on board rather belatedly. But we need to admit that when they joined the fight formally, when the GMA issued that statement with the 7 or 8 other medical associations co-signing, pointing to the urgency and the need for action on Galamsey, and then the organized labor through the 3 joined, it did give some impetus to the fight, because now it was not just civil society and media and religious bodies, but workers and then professionals in the medical field. So while the fight started before they joined, we need to admit that they did give some momentum to the fight. Do you think it was a mistake for us to put our hope in organized labor in the sense in which we did? Because, for example, different people had called on government. Government chose to meet only organized labor. Nothing prevented government from meeting, for example, the leadership of the church or the leadership of civil society. So can you say that maybe it was a bit of a misplaced hope in people all saying, because organized labor has met the government, they are the ones speaking for? Because as you said, we were doing this before they joined, and we probably should have found other ways of engaging government in addition to what organized labor was doing. I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, absolutely, you make sense. You know, but organized labor gave an emphasis to the fight. And also remember that the Ghana coalition against Galamsey, especially the media coalition against Galamsey, our position was the fact that we were not going to meet government till the moratorium, at least the moratorium was granted. And, so we were not engaging government formally, though there was some informal engagement with some members of the coalition. And, so maybe on hindsight, we should have done it in a different manner. But again, it does not take away the things that we need to do. And so that's why it's interesting that tomorrow, Friday, for example, the Catholic Archdiocese of Accra will still embark on their action. And it's the reason why it is important for you, for us in the media, to continue the things that we're doing, to be able to now bring to the fore the impact of the negative impact of Galamsey, of the people in the community, and also make sure that whatever it is that government said it's going to do and more is done. But now let me tell you, another important thing that we need to start doing is that these parliamentary candidates in these communities, we need to make sure that these minimum things that government has said, they are also signed on to it, all of them, including the current members of parliament. And then also the presidential candidates, especially of the NDC and MPP, they need to sign on to it, because it's post January 7, 2025. One of them will be president, and there has to be a continuum. So as we push, and we should push for additional things to be done, a lot more timelines to be put on the things that have been said that are going to be done, and also be demanding of reports, and then we would verify those ones. It is important that we keep on doing that.
So some people say at the minimum, organized labor should have gotten timelines for some of the commitments, because, for example, to say that you will revoke the LI 2462 when Parliament reconvenes, revocation is a process, right? So there probably should have been some specifics. And by the way, I think there were about 4 major demands, as you rightly said: the state of emergency, the moratorium, the revocation, and then the roadmap. We can say, in a sense, that the LI revocation, the admittance to revoke is good enough. The first 2 have not been dealt with, but for the other things, right, there we don't really see a specific timeline. Will the Red campaign be done in a way as to zero in on timelines? Because now we don't know whether it's just maybe one day or daily or every week, because that's also important for people to know what we are working towards. So just talk to us a bit about what are some of the specific things we need to see by when, and how the campaign can help galvanize that to some logical conclusion.
Right. So basically, it's important that at this stage we make sure that we wear these red bands to make sure we can make the targets that have been set smart. So, for example, in terms of the LI that is going to be revoked, is it going to be revoked under a certificate of urgency? Such that when Parliament comes, there's a timeline by which that has to be done. We should be asking questions of that. We should be asking questions of when exactly it is that the operational team are going to go into the field. We should be asking to be told, reports should be given to us so that we all can carry it. This is where it is going to be important for the media to also then serve as the team that would be reporting, getting information from all of these communities, from the forest reserves and all of that, so that we can be reporting back and validating the claims that governments are making. So we need to make sure that these things are smart. For example, in the courts, we are told that the Attorney General is telling us that the Chief Justice should be able to get her judges to get these courts to deal with these issues in particular time. So the red band should also be focusing on bringing that pressure to bear. So as we go on this red band on a daily basis, we need to galvanize people together. And that is the role that the media has known how to do. And we all need to come together and make sure that we are bringing that particular pressure to bear. And then also ask civil society to also support us. We give the benefit of the doubt to Labour, who says that they have just suspended it and they would be watching. So we also need to be asking Labour to also be telling us what are the things, what KPIs are they monitoring? And when would all of us have been satisfied that something is going to be done, so that they also don't just go and sleep. So our focus should be on all duty bearers, to make sure that we are getting this thing done. It is the reason why the red band campaign is more important today than it was when we declared it.
So basically, we should hold each other accountable as partners, hold government accountable, and the struggle continues, essentially. That's the summary of what you're saying.
Completely. The struggle even begins. Now that we've been told a few things that are going to happen, the struggle begins of getting those things to happen. So aluta de continua, but aluta begins at this moment. So we need to tell the media that they don't have to be, they shouldn't lose their focus. Our fight was not on Labour. Our fight was to get Galamsey resolved. So now that we've been giving some things, we need to be asking for some details. The devil is in the detail, and the only way we can do it is to act as citizens and not spectators, and make sure that we are the sovereign, and we should demand of those who we've elected to do these things on our behalf to make sure that they're doing it.
Thank you, Ken. Keep up with the good work. Ken Ashigbe is the convener of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey, and also a member of the Ghana Coalition, which is a grand coalition of all the forces fighting this menace of irresponsible mining. This is still the point of view. Tonight, we're bringing you how we got here, essentially. Organized Labour have called off their strike that they intended to start on Thursday, the 10th of October. But that's not the full story. Parts of Organized Labour are angry. You can say Organized Labour is in disarray because the UTAG are up in arms. Some of the other groups are angry. They are meeting later tonight to decide what to do. There's allegations of a hijack of the process. People are alleging that the leadership have sold out. While all this is going on, we've just been talking to the leadership of the Coalition Against Galamsey, which brings together media, leaders, organized labor, religious bodies, civil society groups, and Kenneth Ashigbe is telling us the red protest happens tomorrow. People are wearing red tomorrow all over the country. And then on Friday, the Catholics are walking and praying. So a lot of things are still happening. We'll come back and give you more background to what's happened, particularly from the perspective of other parts of organized labor. Stay with us. Welcome back. So the point of view tonight is breaking down essentially how we got here. The fight against irresponsible mining, illegal mining, Galamsey, continues unabated. Engineer Ken Ashigbe is the convener of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey, one of the leaders of the Ghana Anti-Galamsey Coalition. He says on Thursday, 10th of October, everybody should wear a red band to show their disdain with the destruction, the pollution. Now, organized labor have called off formally their strike, although there are many meetings happening this evening, which we don't know what to mean. For example, Ransford Jampo, we'll hear from him shortly. He's been speaking to us on what UTAG Legon will do. We've also going to hear from UTAG, KNUST, who've been voting for strike as well. So watch this space. But let me bring you two important things. The President of the Republic has not directly spoken about this since the campaign started belatedly, right? But today we got a statement signed by the Secretary or the Director of Communications. So this is the presidency now. Prior to this, we've heard from the Minister for Lands, we've heard from the Minister for Information, the Minerals Commission, but the presidency has spoken. So I'm going to read what the presidency said. Let me read Eugene Ahin's statement on behalf of government, because this is a statement from the presidency. And that statement was issued this evening. And then I'll take you into other things. So this is a statement signed today by the Secretary or the Communication Director. President Akufo-Addo reaffirms commitment to end illegal mining. Now, let me just read a few paragraphs. The President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has taken action in response to a press release issued by Organized Labour on 7th October 2024, calling for an immediate halt to illegal mining into Galamsey in and around water bodies and forest reserves. In a demonstration of government's commitment to tackling the issue, President Akufo-Addo, through the relevant sector ministers, invited the leadership of Organized Labour to a meeting held on Tuesday, 8th October 2024 at the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations. Following the meeting, the President has, in a letter dated October 9, 2024, and addressed to the leadership of Organized Labour, outlined the following measures to address their concerns. 1. Deployment of additional military personnel. The President has directed the Minister for Defense to deploy additional military forces to intensify the ongoing Operation HALT, which aims to curb illegal mining activities. The operation will be bolstered by the deployment of naval boats on polluted river bodies to ensure the immediate cessation of all mining activities, legal or illegal, in and around these water bodies. 2. Suspension of mining in forest reserves. The President has instructed the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, along with the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, to suspend the enforcement of the Environmental Protection or Mining in Forest Reserves Regulation 2023 LI 2462 with immediate effect. Emphasis mine, with immediate effect. Now, the reason I'm emphasizing this is that there have been two schools of thought on this. Some people felt Parliament may have to initiate the process, but the President has made it clear here that the Minister should be the one to lead the enforcement of the revocation, and the timeline is immediate effect. This is critical. So Parliament reconvenes on the 15th of October, and you expect, based on what the President has said, this revocation to happen immediately. This is very significant. 3, strengthen prosecution of illegal mining cases. In a bid to enhance legal action against illegal mining activities, 4 dedicated courts have already been established. The President has further directed the Attorney General to work with the Chief Justice to increase the number of courts handling cases related to illegal mining. 4, call for a national pact on illegal mining. Government has urged Organized Labour to encourage all presidential candidates and their political parties to sign a pact committing themselves to the fight against illegal mining as part of their election pledges. In light of these decisive actions, government respectfully requests that Organized Labour suspend its planned strike action on 10th October 2024 and collaborate with government and other stakeholders to ensure the effective combat of the Galamsey menace. President Akufo-Addo remains determined to end illegal mining and calls on all citizens, political leaders, and stakeholders to unite in this critical national effort. Signed, Eugene Ahin, Director of Communications, Office of the President. So, there you have it. No mention of state of emergency, no mention of the moratorium, but you can say some details on the suspension of LI, because that wasn't clear from the Information Minister's statement. This is a bit clearer. And then the issue of the deployment of military personnel, you can say, I don't know, some people feel it's already been going on. How many people have been deployed to where? Okay, so it's a bit open-ended. You would have expected a bit more, maybe X number of soldiers at a Y number of places, so that there's a bit of clarity. All right, so this isn't very different from the Information Minister sent to us, but at least the fact that this is immediate effect and the fact that the Minister has been tasked to do this, you can say it's encouraging, but many people think it's nowhere near enough. certainly there's a lot more that was expected from the president. The other point is that organized labor's statement has some marked differences from what the president said, all right? So for example, if you go to paragraph 3 of organized labor, they say government is working with the judiciary and establishing a number of 14 dedicated courts to handle the illegal mining cases, 7 high, 7 circuit. Well, the president says there are 4. Organized labor says it's 14. So there's 10 missing from the president's statement. Maybe organized labor will help us find the 10. Right, that's a very interesting one. And then, of course, the organized labor say the president will collaborate with them to fight illegal mining. And then the other things are repeated here. So this is organized labor's view on the matter, right? They also spoke about how a team from government met the leadership of organized labor and GEA. Meeting discussed at length the response to the earlier measures announced by the government. And then government offered what organized labor considered to be enhanced and time-bound measures. Okay, so that's what they're saying, enhanced and time-bound measures. As Kenasiwe has said, you can't expect organized labor to fight your fight for you. They fight based on the constraints they have. So we have to do what we have to do to continue to make sure we get results. And the media is committed to doing this. And we urge those who are watching to wear their red to also encourage specific actions from government. Now, we do admit that the decision of organized labor has taken some wind out of the impetus, but that doesn't mean it's ended there. Let's hear from 2 key leaders of UTAG. So UTAG is a University Teachers Association, and by the way, they vote on various campuses before they declare nationwide strike. Now, on our news bulletin a few hours before we came on air, Hawa Idrisu spoke to the president of UTAG KNUST, Professor Abavari, who did not mince words about how disappointed he and his members were by the decision taken by organized labor. Let's hear him.
The decision is a stab in the back. It's a stab in the back of organized labor. And today, Ghana is bleeding and sad. You see, UTAG has made it point clear. We declared our intention to embark on strike far earlier than organized labor. We had planned to embark on the 30th of September. Then organized labor took the shine, and then we decided to give it to them and to see to what they intend to do with them. UTAG, I think I stated on this channel before that we have a procedure of embarking on strike. The power to embark on strike lies in the hand of the members. And for that reason, members across the 15 campuses voted to embark on this industrial action. And the verdict is overwhelming support for the strike. And so if organized labor now goes to say it become the mouthpiece of the administration, I mean the government, because solution they profess were all medium to long term. But what we are asking is a short-term solution. You cannot use a medium to long-term solution to solve a short-term solution. What do I mean by that? The people causing the havoc are still in the bush. The cyanide is still percolating through the soil. The water bodies are still being messed up. And if we should go and write a pact, which is a medium to long term, until that time, the havoc that is being caused, the fauna, the flora. UTAG's position was clear that halt it momentarily for cool off. He mentioned the security. Had the security not been involved all along, Operation Vanguard, were they under the security? Operation Flash Up, were they under the security? And so if the president says he's going to empower the security, empowerment, it's different from the previous ones.
Okay.
So the mind of UTAG is that they have voted and decided to embark on strike to compel the administration, in fact, the president to say that he doesn't want to see any earth-moving machines. As long as the earth-moving machines are going, the Shamfans are still sitting on the waters. What is the solution being professed by organized labor? That they become the mouthpiece of the government. So our position is clear. This evening, UTAG National Executive Committee will meet. They will discuss about the position of organized labor, but already the mind of the people is already made up. And so in this meeting, we'll communicate the kind of strike we will embark on. So I want to assure my members, their decision today to embark on strike still holds, except they decide to change their mind. As long as I'm concerned, the mandate has been provided, and we will follow through without organized labor.
Very well. Doc, briefly, so is this peculiar to KNUST, or this is for UTAG National or that of the Kumasi chapter?
This, what I've just spoken, is the entire UTAG membership. Coalition has been done, the election, the voting at the various campuses have been carried out. The coalition has been done. Over 77% of UTAG members voted overwhelmingly that industrial action is the only language the employer will hear and hit to the voice of the voiceless in those communities.
So that was Professor Bavari, not very happy with the decision by organized labor collectively. Now, we haven't heard from other branches of UTAG yet, but let's hear from Legon. So again, earlier on, before we came on air, Umaru Sanda Amadu spoke to Professor Aran. For example, indeed, Professor Aran, for example, had issued some sort of statement on his social media platform, but I feel we should listen to him rather. He spoke to Umaru Sanda Amadu on Eyewitness News a couple of hours ago, expressing the views he shared on social media, very disappointed as well, and made something very interesting. He says, if UTAG has to be the only conscience of the nation, they will do it. So that suggests that even though organized labor as a body have said they've called off the strike, it appears that UTAG may well do the strike. Listen to Professor Jampo.
I'm very upset and annoyed and disappointed. Organized labor was going to lead according to what the call. There are well-meaning Ghanaians that all others can fail, but we shouldn't fail. We met as organized labor on Monday, and we discussed the outcome of a meeting between government and some selected leaders of organized labor a week before, I think last Thursday or so. And at the meeting on Monday, certain proposals from government were laid before us. We discussed them and felt that they were not biting enough, or they were not concrete enough. And so our notice to strike should remain in force. Last night, we were told that government had given enhanced proposals, and that today we were supposed to go and discuss those proposals. So we all stopped what we were doing and went to the meeting. The meeting started at 2 p.m. The leadership, the selected leadership of organized labor came there with a prepared speech. So typically when they want to do such meetings, they will ask the media to go out. So when the media left, then he read a speech to us that was essentially saying that we called off the strike. So some of us question the propriety of that move because we called it into a meeting. We don't read a conclusion to us because it then presupposes that a few people met with whoever they wanted to meet with have already decided and they are communicating to us. So we drew their attention. We took exception from that undemocratic and very backward practice. And they apologized that, it was for us to discuss. So some of us made the point that the kinds of things that the government said they want to be doing and from the ones they said they will be doing on Monday, which we had discussed, and so it's for nothing at all. It's not government. It's a temporary moratorium on mining. It's for nothing at all. One. It's maybe 1 week, so that.
Prof, your line is bad.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, please go ahead.
I have lost my voice because the meeting was acrimonious, rancorous, and we had to be shouted. Sorry. So I'm saying that we had said the so-called enhanced proposals from the government were not so different in substance from what we had discussed on Monday and had rejected. And so, if for nothing at all, some of us were saying government could put a temporary moratorium on mining so that we can all discuss, agree on the kind of proposals that are being thrown to us. And when we talk about moratorium, we are not even saying banning, but it's a kind of a temporary suspension. Once you do that, people know that you mean business because all the other things that they said they were doing, they are the kinds of things that they always see. We are deploying military, we are doing this. I mean, they are all political talk. And so we wanted something that will be more seen as concrete, if you like, an address from the president and see giving this, placing this temporary moratorium and all that. That would have made us see that government is really committed and serious. But whilst we were discussing this and we were not done, these two leaders quickly called in the media and read the statement that they had already prepared. And we had, so none of the suggestions we made found their way into what had already been prepared and signed. So they read it to the media. And so we had to disperse. So like I indicated earlier, the meeting was rancorous. It was acrimonious and tense. It ended in disunity. And UTAG was ably represented. What we have decided is that as of yesterday, all the public universities had voted in support of a proposal that we have submitted to them that is strike to force government to do the needful. And given that we've all voted in support of that, the neck of UTAG meets tonight, and we'll take a final decision and let Ghanaians know. But I've said that my members should brace themselves to be the only conscience of the nation. If for nothing at all, we've done that before. Only University of Ghana commenced the fight against the obnoxious and backward, antiquated public universities bill. We commenced, the entire UTAG joined, and were able to put it on the, ensure that it is discarded. And so we've done some before. So we will not disappoint. We would meet tonight, and then we'll let everybody know what we intend doing. If organized labor wants to go this route, and I'm sad, before we're going, there have been so many allegations, and the way and manner they conducted themselves festers or deepens those allegations. Even if you have a preconceived or you have already taken a decision, that you could have gone about it with a certain finesse and with a certain tact and with a certain approach that brings all on board. You came there with a prepared speech. At the end of the day, you read the prepared speech. Even when the meeting was not done, your guys there who came to cover will tell you that they were just called in at a time when we were disagreeing and we were still talking. And then some of them even captured the way and manner we were disagreeing, on tape. And I think it was not professionally done. And so, well, by the grace of God, we are calm, but we are basing ourselves for a meeting of UTAG. And whatever will happen, we'll let you guys know. I'm not happy. I'm disappointed. I'm annoyed. And I don't think that this is a way to go under SMC, under the SMC regime. Now, people are easily referring, some of us, we thought into Ghanaian politics. And we know what the SMC government was doing to manipulate Labour Front. Now, people are simply asking the question, is then the government of the day not trying to manipulate Labour Front? Others are also saying that the opposition is giving money to Labour to be doing whatever it is doing. But it's insulting because it creates an impression that we have no minds of our own. If the water bodies are now colored and we all can't drink, we need a politician to come and tell us to act. And so, well, I hear some of these allegations. I don't have evidence, and so I wouldn't put much premium on them. But the point is that what happened today was shameful. UTAG would not be part of it. Thank you.
Prof, so the view is that two people hijacked the meeting. Is that the position that you hold and decided to foist on the organized labor what they had already pre-planned?
Well, those who are saying that we shouldn't go on strike, if they want to talk, they are allowed to talk. Those who want to say that we think that what the government is talking about is just lip service and and we are not asking for too much, even just a common announcement. Okay, a common announcement of a moratorium would have been seen as a certain seriousness if the government really wants to tackle the problem. And if you want to go this route, they said they won't talk. I made my preliminary comments. I wanted to make a substantive comment, and they kept telling me that, oh, you've spoken already. And before you could say that, they said, media, come and let's read. And they read the statement that had already been prepared. And so you can describe it adequately, given the chronology of events that I have outlined to you.
Now, the last issue I'll ask you before you go, and I know you've had a long day, the view would be that, okay, you wanted government to act. Government has acted a number of times now. There's a statement that has been issued. A 6-point agenda has been put forth, including inviting you, organized labor, to be part of a stakeholder this meeting to deal with this issue of Galamsey. Is that not a sign of action? Could that not be, and that's the reason that your leaders announced the suspension, should that not be adequate, an assurance from government with timelines?
We don't trust them. Remember that when earlier in September we had said that by the end of September we would advise ourselves. Quickly they put together an interministerial committee that listened to us and meet some pledges and all that. They told us they were going to revert to us in 1 week time. 1 week expired. They didn't have the courtesy to come and tell us that, look, 1 week has expired and because of XYZ reasons we are unable to meet you. 2 weeks expired. The period that the time frame they gave to us expired and they didn't do anything. And until then, the president himself invited the leadership after we had said that strike kicks in from 10th of.
So that was Professor Ransford Jampo speaking to Umaru Sanda Amadu on Eyewitness News earlier this evening. So clearly there is still a lot to happen. So as they say, watch this space. So they say they are meeting tonight. We'll wait to see what they decide tomorrow. But so far, we've been speaking to a number of people. We've spoken to Professor Abavari, Professor Jampo, and Engineer Kenashigbe. We've also brought you the chronology of events as we got here. But we think that the media will continue what it has to do to ensure that the government accedes to the demand of the public. Over 60 bodies have gone out to say, stop Galamsey now, meet specific demands about a moratorium in a state of emergency. We don't personally think that the actions of government are enough to satisfy us. We didn't say we're calling a strike. Organized labor said they were calling a strike. They've not called it. That should not end our fight. They have decided that they don't continue their strike. But that doesn't mean that we should stop. And as Ken said, we have been on this before they joined. So we'll continue. Wear the red and insist with the means we have in our disposal for the government to do what is right, not just for now, but for posterity. So we thank you for watching tonight's edition of The Point of View. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.